Okay, here's another League of Legends post-game commentary coming your way, this time with Malzahar mid. So, do you remember the last time I actually played a mid-lane game on this channel? Okay, for those of you that are following but don't actually remember, it's been 2 months. So that's why I pulled Malz, just because it's taken forever for me to actually go back mid. And right here, everyone was placed according to who they're up against. We have Kalista partnered with Blitz against Draven and Fiddle, Lee against Skarner, Tryn against Gnar, and I'm Malz mid against Kassadin. So I believe I've shown this matchup before on the channel at least once. And Kassadin has received considerable changes. Not quite enough to really undo his nerfing, but I'm not gonna lie, Kassadin's just in really bad shape right now. So right there I went ahead and just hit Skarner. We're basically fighting for this top capture point. And unfortunately, I think 3 of my teammates are so far out of the loop they don't actually know what those points do, why to contest them, and what you get for contesting them. But anyway, Tryn and I are going to take this, and then the whole matchup can begin. So anyway, I'll explain how Malzahar works for those of you not familiar with him. Your passive is summon Voidling after casting, I think it's 4, or it might be 5 spells. You will summon a Voidling that will persist for something like 15 seconds. It will attack the enemy you're either attacking or have your visions on, your E. And the minion scales off of Malzahar's AD and his attack speed, I believe, so AD Malz is kind of legit in that regard. It's just, I generally play him as AP because when I go mid, it's 9 times out of 10, it's because we have an AD top and everything, and I want someone dealing magic damage in the game. Your Q is Call of the Void. It's that move you saw me use right there. It's heavily telegraphed. It's one of the few silences left in the game, and to kind of explain what happens, you will create those 2 portals, and after a brief delay, you will have like some sort of energy beam reach out and connect the 2 portals. Anyone inside of that energy beam, or like a little bit outside of it, because it's a fairly large hitbox, I'll admit it, it will damage them and silence them, and Malz's Q has the exact same ratio as his E. He is not really to be taken lightly. He has really nice ratios because he's so immobile. Your W is Null Zone, I believe. You will create this little portal on the ground. Everyone who stands inside of it loses a percentage of their HP the longer they stand inside. There's nothing really fancy about this, it's just the way that Malz shreds tanks. And with a Skarner and Gnar on the field, you can better believe that's going to come in handy. Right there, Tryn got first blood. Sadly, things are not going to be improving for him from here. And you may say that's a good thing, it's kind of a testament to how bad things are going to get for him. Right here, Kassadin is trying to harass me because he went for the heavy sustain start so he can kind of afford to spam spells. And he wants to tank my visions because it slows my pushing power, it makes it harder for me to last hit and therefore get gold. And the reason for that is that his passive will give him a flat damage reduction so he takes less damage. Then he can use his Q to create that barrier right there, which will in turn like protect his hit points. So that's how Kassadin kind of has somewhat of an edge against Malzahar, but it does diminish the longer the game goes on. So moving onward with Malzahar's moveset, your E is Malefic Visions. It's the Space AIDS move, as it's sometimes called. You will infect a target with a debuff that does damage over time. It has a really high base ratio, or base damage, and a decent ratio. I forgot what the ratio is offhand, but it's not something to be taken lightly. Just like the Q. From there, your ult is crud, I forgot what it's called, but it's a tether type suppression move. You will basically reach out, bind an enemy, and suppress them. They can no longer move, neither can you, because with the exception of Skarner, suppressions are double-edged swords. And it does a crapload of damage, and just like his E, it's a damage over time move, so it won't burst someone down. 1 second. Okay. My voice isn't too much better, but we're gonna try to keep going. So you'll bind a person, it does a lot of damage over time, but not a lot up front. And Malzahar can assassinate people if you're able to land all of your moves. To assist in this, you can get a Rylai's Crystal Scepter. The slow will hold them down, so it's easier to land your skill shots, the Q, and debatably the W. But the problem is, none of Malzahar's moves will actually apply the full slow. His... I don't actually know how the Q is... or not the Q, the W is classified. The Q is a AoE move, so it has a reduced ratio. The E and the... well, the E is a damage over time move, so it also has a reduced duration or reduced severity, one of the two. As for the W, I don't know if it's considered a dot in AoE or a combination of the two, in which case you get the worst of both worlds. It's just... the W... where to even begin here? You can do some zoning with the W, and that's pretty much its main merit. Alright, here's the beauty. So, I have no idea why Kassadin went in right there. His logic is, well, I just hit level 6, I'm going in, but we've been here together the entire time. He should have just been able to think, okay, if I just hit level 6, odds are Malz is only one minion away, and going in on him could very well be the death of me. Right here, Skarner is going to kill me. He botches his E, but he's tanking up with his exoskeleton. That really doesn't matter. So right here, I'm kind of calling out Kassadin for his bad play there, and just moving on with my build. Now, since I'm up against an AP character, and even Skarner does magic damage, there's also a Fiddlesticks on the field, Grail is the way to go. So I grab the Grail for the defensive stats as well as the mana regen. I grab the Amp Tome for the flat damage. That'll help with my pushing, and the more I can push, the safer I am, because Kassadin has to be on top of me to hurt me. As for Kassadin, he technically is supposed to be an assassin, but he's just in this really awkward spot. You can see he's going for Rod of Ages because of the Catalyst in his inventory. He doesn't, like, if he has the Catalyst first, that means he's not going for the Archangels or anything like that. And whether or not that's a bad call is kind of up to him. Because after our last skirmish there, he's going to be safe for about 2 minutes, so it's probably closer to 3. He probably could justify going tier, farming for the 3 minutes, then going back for the Catalyst. It's just preference, I guess. And the reason why Tier and Catalyst, well, why Tier is so good on him in the first place is that I believe his W and his ult scale up his mana. So, more mana means more damage. Otherwise, for this matchup, a couple things to talk about. With Skarner and Gnar on the field, I have to go Tank Buster. I can't just go full AP Malz or anything like that, nothing flashy. So once I finish the Grail, I have to go into Rylai's. This will in turn help me kite Skarner, and it just makes the bug miserable. And yes, he is an arachnid, but I'm referring to him by the same term I called Kha'Zix. So you can see he died bot. He's not going to have a good time here, and in retrospect, I probably should do a Skarner game soon because he's been nerfed yet again. And the worst part is they damaged his E, so I don't know even how to go about Skarner right now. I'm feeling Riot doesn't either. But anyway, the way that I'm going to kite him is with the Rylai's and one of my damage over time moves. So while I said the damage over time either has reduced duration or reduced severity, I think it's severity because duration would keep resetting. The key thing is, he doesn't have a reliable gap closer. With his E being recently nerfed, a slow is pretty detrimental to him, and you'll see him suffer for it for the most part. But as for the things that are going to be working in the enemy team's favor, the Kalista takes forever to get off the ground, and Tryn is not doing too hot up top. But my plan here is going to be my usual Malz moveset max. Start with the E so that you can push, harass, etc. It's one-size-fits-all move. From there, I want to go for the Q, because the duration on the silence scales with the rank of the move. I don't remember if it starts out at something like 2 seconds, but it caps out at 3 seconds, which is very, very significant, especially when you factor in the AoE aspect. And yes, I saw the pink ward there, it's just, I was wondering, am I needed top? Because, like, we could try to kill Gnar, and by trying to set him back as much as possible, that in turn will make things easier for us in the long run. Now, right there I wanted to go get the pink ward, but Kassadin's right there, and the Malefic Visions didn't get off the ground, so I had to stay there to keep pushing the lane. Now, to put things into context how bad that Kalista does for a little while, the Blitz can't really tolerate even being in the lane. He's going to spend a lot of time mid. And unfortunately, Kassadin is not one of the guys that we can do much against, because let's say he does pull Kassadin. Then Kassadin's just going to ult away, and that's that. Ah, here's a spike. So, I managed to deal a little bit of damage in both Gnar and Skarner's health bars. Bad news is Skarner's fast enough to get out. He has control. He has the control point right there to speed off. So I realized the only thing we're going to get here is Gnar. I ignited him, managed to get the kill. So while that didn't go to Tryn, the fact of the matter is it's going to me, and it's kind of up to me to bust the tanks here. So while I mentioned earlier on, Kassadin normally will try to tank the visions to slow Mal's progress. At this point, the visions have enough base damage to where doing that is extremely dangerous for him. The absolute worst case scenario is once the visions are in place, I can actually drop the rest of my moves and potentially kill him, despite his flat damage reduction and the shield.
Shut down.
As for right here, I botched this horribly. Like, I didn't see my tether go off, so I didn't keep it up on Skarner, and as a result, it's going to cost me my flash. But the problem is, in like the long run, Tryn is so far behind that we did not realistically have any kill pressure on Skarner. To make things worse, like, I have a bunch of gold, I haven't actually picked up any items just yet, and I'm not quite a tank buster, so going for that probably just wasn't that bright of an idea in the first place. Anyway, I now have enough gold to finish my Athenes. That'll give me more mana regen. I don't remember how the AP is affected. I think I get something like 10 more. And I get the 20% CDR, so I can spam and push like hell.
Your turret has been destroyed.
So you can see right here, Kassadin's laying into the tower. He is going to be able to pick this up because this is going to be a mid-centric game. I hate it when this happens because pretty much everyone and their grandma is going to be spending time here, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse as the game progresses. And to make things worse, Kalista, like I said, it takes time to get off the ground. She is going to be late to most of these fights, and that's what keeps the enemy into the game as long as it does. So I wanted to drop my visions, but it doesn't have the same range as my null zone. Therefore, I had to go ahead and tank a couple of turret shots so I can get in range. Here, Gnar botched his boomerang pretty bad. In the end, he still manages to connect it, it's just it didn't go as smoothly as he would have liked, and had that connected, he might have been able to kill me. At the very least, I'd have a lot less health than I do right now. So I heard the crows, and down goes Kalista. To make things worse, Draven got those, so he had to cash out the stacks. I think that's actually his first 2 kills of the game, so he might have had a lot. I wasn't really paying attention to his CS numbers, so I can't really verify or disprove. So right here we got the dragon. I wasn't entirely sure if it was because of my silence, like stopping Skarner from casting his spell, if it was perhaps my W and the Q working in conjunction to just boost my overall damage. There are a lot of things that could have contributed to that, but the important thing is we stole the dragon, and while we died for it, this is giving Tryn some time up in the top lane to push some towers and try to get himself back into the game, because he's been doing horribly. So, right there I grabbed a Ruby Crystal and Amp Tome. Those are components of both the Leandries and the Rylais, because I wasn't sure which one I was going to need first. The advantage of being the Haunting Guys first is that it gives you a little bit of flat penetration. If the enemies have a small amount of MR, that can usually be enough to negate what they have, and you can be hitting for pretty close to true damage. As for the Rylais, that of course will slow them, and how Gnar has a little bit of trouble trying to get into fights when he doesn't have his flash up in Mega form. So that's the other advantage of the Rylais. So sadly I didn't make it in time to get anything off Skarner, but I dropped a ward here hoping maybe Lee and I could do something, but he was just more interested in the Scuttle Crab. So we help ourselves to the point, each one of us gets 15 gold, and then we go our separate ways. For me, I need to go ahead and push the mid lane so we can drive this into the tower and deny Kassadin, as well as just get more damage on the turret. And you can see how fast Malz can push, even though he's technically single target and damage over time. Take that, Teemo. But right here I don't have my mid, so I had to go ahead and get this to equalize things. And I can go ahead and just drop my null zone to push this out a bit more, and you can see Kassadin is tanking my visions, which is not something he really wants to do, because just look at his health melt. And it's going to get worse for him once I actually do get the Leandries, because it will do percent HP damage, which will counteract some of the HP he gets from his Rod of Ages. Anyway, I'm looking at my gold right now. I have enough to upgrade my Ruby Crystal into a Giant's Belt. It's just I don't have enough for a really large rod, and all things considered, I kind of need some AP here so that I can have more of an impact in-game. As things currently stand, I'm kind of an ult bot, because my contribution to the team will be peeling through ulting someone. And even though you see Kassadin right there, I'm not going to ult him, in case you're wondering. Why is that, you ask? That's why. So he died to the visions, and right here I ult Draven to save Kalista. Sadly, I don't get the kill, but the important thing is, neither does Draven. And assist gold is better than no gold. So right here I was kind of hoping to be able to catch Skarner, but I'm gonna guess we were standing on a ward. I can't verify that. It's just the way he moved strongly implies that that was warded. So right there we traded our jungler for our support. Not the greatest, but not the worst. Especially as annoying as Fiddle gets as this game goes on. So here we're going to have a fight where we lose Kalista. I show up in time to drop my spells. Sadly, you can see Skarner did limp out. That's not something that I'm going to allow Gnar to do. And in case you didn't notice, I got a blue buff off of Kassadin's dead body, so I can spam against Gnar. We kill him, I get the shutdown, and that's pretty much all I need to get the Rylais at this point. As for Draven, I was kind of hoping to bait him in here, but he turned around at the last second to save his life. Had the Q landed, the E would have went off, and I would have ulted him, and then Draven. Now right here, Lee Sin was trying to do that kick. He hops at the ward in front, turns around, ults him, and Draven would come flying into me and kind of die. Sadly, Fiddle Fear brought that to a screeching halt, but I can still push this in and try to deny as much as I can. Now right here I went too far forward, unfortunately. I took a lot of damage, and this is just overall an unfavorable fight. If not for the whole part, oh, watch this. So I ulted him, he ulted me, his ult takes priority, mine still goes on cooldown, which is a load of crap. But anyway, they are making moves on the map while Kalista is still bot, and she's going to be down there for at least 5 more minutes. So due to the way that played out, I went for the Sorcerer's Shoes, and then I went ahead and picked up the Giant's Belt and the Needlessly Large Rod. And in case you're wondering, there's pretty much no merit to what Kalista is doing. She wants to get the Hurricane before she wants to start fighting, but we're at the 20-minute mark. The laning phase has been over for a while. Now, I don't know, like, we know she did die periodically in there, and I don't know how far behind she is exactly. But where she's currently at is doing a disservice to the team. She's just way too far behind. So I wanted to get in here for the 15 gold, and my hopes here was that Blitz would pull someone, I could potentially do my combo, ult them, but Tryn spooked them off. Blitz and Tryn are going to go after Draven, while Lee and I help ourselves to Dragon number 2. And just like last time, I hopped on the control point so that Lee and I both got the 15 gold. Now, for the second half of the dragon fight, I was not casting any spells because I wanted to make sure everything was off cooldown in case someone showed up to contest. So basically, if Skarner had tried to come barreling in, I could ult him and just hope my team could kill him before the ult, or kill the dragon before the ult ends, or we could turn and pile on Skarner, whichever one works for us at the time. But anyway, with the second dragon, we now have the enhanced pushing power. I believe that extends to my Voidling, but I'm not totally sure, and sadly, the poor thing died before I had a chance to test that. So right here, Fiddle used Terrify on me, but I already got called Void off before he could channel that. And as a result, he feared me, and I silenced him. As a result, he could not pull Zonias, he could not start casting Drain. He just ulted into the middle of us and was a sitting duck. So you can see that this is pretty much another fight that we're going to lose simply because they're grouping. Now I do pick up a kill off Skarner and Kassadin, but the fact of the matter is Kalista is screwing us here. And right here it gets to the point where I have to call her out on this because that's a tower for them. They get kills plus tower. And to make things worse, Draven gets to cash out. Not entirely sure if he got to cash out earlier, but it's just he had the option, and well, you can see how things are playing out. Now right here I should have upgraded my trinket, but I wasn't really paying attention and I wanted to get back into the field in case Gnar was going to try something. Ultimately he didn't. This is just one of those things in retrospect. Since I know I'm not going to get anything, I should have just went for the trinket. But I can come down here, clear this out, that'll push me closer to my haunting guys. And you can see that this is a much closer game than I had anticipated, because Malz, I believe, has the complete advantage over Kassadin these days. Back before Kassadin got gutted, it was a pretty even matchup where if Malz knew what he was doing, he had the advantage. He could kill Kassadin, but it was still like the lane favored Kassadin for the most part. But once he lost his silence, that was kind of it, especially since Malz still has his. So right here I'm just trying to pull Gnar out of the fight. Sadly we have another one of those BS situations where he channels a move that knocks me out of my ult. Makes me miss the old days when suppression actually suppressed. So right here, Tryn and I are up against a full health Draven. I dropped my null zone right there to slow him as well as to eat through some of his Bloodthirster shield. And I don't know if that was warded or what, but Tryn goes down and there's no hope for us to kill him here, so my best course of action is just run away. this is a beauty. I don't know why he stopped. I don't know if he threw that ward outside of his W range or what exactly, but that's how it played out. You saw it for yourselves. The good news is, since we have the Scuttle Crab buff in front of the Baron, that gives Lee the movement speed he needs to actually catch up to Draven and do that.
Killing spree.
Anyway, Kalista has her Blade and her Hurricane now, so we have some hopes for her that probably can't. And I was kind of hoping right here that my ult would stop him from actually being able to cap the point. Okay, so... and down he goes. So yes, he did die for 15 gold. Meanwhile, we can get 15 more gold by just picking that up, as well as the 450 gold from killing him. Advantage us. Now right here, I'm just too low health. I want to go up against Kassadin like this because he could insta-gib me, and that's not very preferable. But now that I have the Blasting Wand, I'm much closer to Liandry's Torment, and that's really bad news for Skarner and Gnar. Once I finish that, they melt. To make things worse, I think they're kind of neglecting the whole MR aspect. Gnar does have Steric's Gauge to kind of keep him alive, it's just... it's not enough. He doesn't have any MR to get anything out of that health. To make things worse with the Sorcerer's Shoes and the Haunting Guys, that's 30 MR that he doesn't have, plus the Magic Penetration, my runes and masteries. Once that damage over time with Liandry's is on him, it's just going to add up really, really quick. As for right here, where to even begin? Kalista and Blitz got caught out real early. We were hoping to pick off some sort of straggler so that they couldn't take the dragon. You can see our plan didn't quite work, and as a result they get the kills plus the dragon. To make things worse, there's nothing Lee can do to effectively defend this tower. Once the second wave comes in, unless Lee has reinforcements like Set and Blitz, that's pretty much it for the tower. And sadly, at this stage of the game, that amount of health can go down in mere seconds. There's their first dragon, and yeah, just sloppy play there.
An enemy has been slain.
Sadly, I don't remember how much damage the Kalista ends up doing. It's just she left a lot to be desired in terms of AD carries. Sorry to say it, but it's true. One thing that I will admit is if she did have trouble blasting in lane, she's probably the hardest AD carry to actually last hit with unless you're just going to use the E endlessly. She has a 0.9 AD ratio on her auto. I think that's the only character in the game who does have something like that. Everyone else actually has a full 1-to-1 on their auto. This is because Kalista attacks so fast, it just would add up too quickly, and for the early game it would be kind of rough because it's much harder to last hit minions since you do less damage. It's really that simple. But anyway, I seized it, and I walked around the Scuttle Crab to try to make sure that they couldn't tell where I was going. I wanted to give the impression I was going bot while I was going to sneak into the jungle and steal their blue. Bad news is the fight's going to break out. I think you can kind of see it on the minimap. Mid goes down. But I got the blue. That's worth it, right? Not really, no.
An ally has been slain.
There goes Tryn to Skarner. That's one of the few kills Skarner gets over the course of the game. And one of Tryn's many deaths. So right here, Gnar has arrived. And I was way too slow on getting the ult off, but the important thing is I stopped him from using the Zonias or getting anything else off. As a result, he just came in and kind of died. Now, I probably should have left with Lee, but I knew we could at least kill one. I was kind of hoping if Lee were close, they'd go after him while I dealt the damage. Instead, Lee stood in the back, so they piled on me, I die, and they get the ace. definitely needed his help for Kassadin earlier just because of Kassadin's passive. Had he been able to do some of the damage, we probably could have gotten him, but oh well. So right here I have the Rylai's Leandries. That's your core of when you go Tank Buster Malz. And from here you just want more raw AP so that you get more percent HP damage from your null zone. So the next item, of course, is going to be your Death Cap. Final item is going to be Void Staff, in case you're wondering. That way, if they do start stacking MR to try to mitigate some of the pain you're dishing out, you can just pierce right through and keep doing it. But we're entering the home stretch, the final 5 minutes of the game.
We are timeless.
So right now, I basically want to find Skarner or Gnar and start fighting them. Because if I drop my visions on them, it's a ton of health they're going to lose. Now, I don't know if it's enough to single-handedly proc Gnar's Steric's Gauge, but it's something that I was aiming to try to do. So you can see Skarner there. I'm not entirely sure if he swept that or what, but he found the ward. And as a result, I just opt to go top, get some CS, and try to work my way to the next item breakpoint. Now the bad news is, due to the way these last couple fights have played out, we do not have any vision past our side of the river, and that equaled a free Baron for them. As for the right here, I've managed to pick off the weakened Kassadin, and I contribute my spells to the fight just to try to save the party. And poor Fiddle here. That guy just can't catch a break when I'm around. I either suppress him, silence him, or do something for him to stay.
An enemy has been slain.
To make things worse, if he doesn't CC me or drain me, I always have the option to just drop my null zone under his feet and hit him with one other spell. The Q will either interrupt his drain, or the E will just do obscene amounts of damage, and he won't be able to heal as fast as he needs to stay alive. Of course, the trick to this is you still have to damage him fast enough to where his drain will heal you, so it's not 100% foolproof. Anyway, after that whole Baron throw, we help ourselves to the mid inhibitor, and that's kind of the spirit breaker for them. They're going to hang in for a little bit longer, but they know they're on the ropes. They took Baron, they lost an inhibitor, and now we actually have regained our map control. Seriously, that was pretty much one of the absolute worst case scenarios they could have. So right here, I think it was, Lee also pointed out that the dragon's coming up. I wanted to go ahead and pick up the chickens so that I have enough for the needlessly large rod and an elixir. And sadly that is my last back, so everything I have now is going to be with me for the remainder of the game. No death cap to be found here. And it's a bit disappointing my voice isn't really improving, but hopefully you guys don't mind. So Draven goes down, he's their big fish. Without him, their options are really, really limited. To make things worse, like I said, I'm in Tank Buster mode, so even if Gnar and Skarner want to do a fight of attrition, it's not going to end well for them. Meanwhile, our 380 guys go ahead and get the third dragon for us, then turn his movement speed so I can get up close and personal on some of these guys and land them out. So, for Gnar, he got pulled, and I silenced him so that he couldn't get out, and then we just piled on him. And they probably thought that they got lucky and caught me. You can see that we were right behind, and there goes Fiddle yet again to my silence. It's starting to become a bit of a recurring theme. Right here I'm slinging my spells out as fast as I can just to keep up the damage, that way we can keep up the dive without dying. And right there, that one just didn't end well for Draven. This one's not going to end well for Malz. So he does a suicide to pick up Blitz, but that's it. So, gotta dance on their nexus so they know who the boss is, and now they know that they can't touch this. Anyway, that's Malz mid after a 2-month hiatus. I'm the Hero of Light. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.